Let's understand the function arguments object. So what is this function arguments? We are already having function parameters. So what's the need of function arguments? That we'll see in this particular lecture. So let's start creating a simple function here. I would like to write a function with the name display, which will display the list of logs given by its corresponding function call. So the name of the function is display, and I want to receive the parameters here. So what initially I'll do, I'll give log1, log2 as normal, and I'll just try to perform the console log for the respective one. Okay, let me just call the display here and give, this is log1, this is log2. Perfect. Let's see the outcome. Yes, we are getting log1 and log2. But what if I want a multiple parameters to be given, and I'm not sure how many parameters need to be given? So there is something called as arguments object, which is an array-like object implementation in the JavaScript. So you might have seen a weird syntax, even though if I don't mention this log1 and log2, or maybe only the log1, still the program works and still this function will get called. So we are passing two parameters, but it is only accepting one parameter. So let's see. That's a different scenario, like we are getting an error at the log2 because we are not using it in the parameters. Let me just remove it. So with two parameters but accepting only one, still it will work very perfectly, although we are not making use of the second one. How exactly it's happening? This is because of the function arguments object. So whenever we are passing some data from the function call, it is not directly getting assigned over here in the parameters. Firstly, it is going into the arguments object. So it is creating an array-like object format in which all these parameters are systematically saved. And then it is being assigned to the respective parameter log1, log2, and everything. So what we will do, we will just try to console what is this arguments. So these arguments is array-like object. So we are passing only two here, log1 and log2, and consoling the argument object. Let's see in the Chrome console what exactly it contains. So we are getting some array object kind of thing here, and in which 0, 1 indexes are present. I'm able to see log1 and the log2, and here is the magic due to which the function call is very much successful even though you're passing log1. So even though you're not mentioning any here, that doesn't matter because your function arguments are getting stored initially in the arguments object. And that's the reason with different number of arguments and different number of parameters also, we are able to successfully call the functions in the JavaScript. Okay, so now this looks a bit complicated one. It is something having the callee, the length and everything. The length is super simple. It is just saying that how many parameters you are giving. If you want to confirm that, we'll add one more log named log3, and in this case you should see the length will be 3 here. So for our current scenario, we don't need to deal with this callee and the symbol one. We just need to deal with the list of parameters we are receiving. So this is a bit complicated format. So we need a simple array of string here. So what we can do, we can say let array, and I can say I'll take help of the array object and I'll say I want to build a new array from arguments. Now I want to console only the array here. Let's see the outcome. Now it's super simple. We are having the log1, log2, log3. This is a simple array of string we can say. We don't want to go with the complications of that. So what we have achieved here, now I can pass any number of parameters and that is present inside my array. You might be wondering why we are complicating this thing. We can also use the rest parameters here. Of course, we can use the rest parameters, but this is an alternative for that before the rest parameters being created. That's perfect. Next, now we want to console all these logs on the screen very well. So what we can use a for loop statements or maybe the while loop. For now, to make it simple, I'll just use for each here. So for each, I'll just take a log here, and for each and every log, I'll just want to console it. And here, if you just see, we are using the arrow function syntax. So for each, and we are using an arrow function here, which is taking each and every log, and we are just performing a console log for that. So we should be able to see in our console all the three logs: log 1, log 2, and the log 3. Let's try to add one more log here, log 4, and this will work very systematically because we are using the array. No need to change a single line of code inside our display function. That's perfect. Next, what we'll try to do, we'll try to manipulate the data which is present inside our arguments. How? So what I'll do, I'll say arguments of 0 equals to, I'll try to add some updated log 1. So what I want to do, what is the log 1 I'm passing here? I want to update that over here. That's perfect. So now what we should get the output here, updated log 1, 2, 3, 4. That's perfect. But let's say along with this, and let me just simplify this example. Let me remove the unwanted. I'm just using 2 now. And let me use log 1 here and the log 2. Okay. So now the value which is present inside the argument 0 is equal to your log 1 only, correct? Because both are pointing to the same one. And if I use arguments of 1, that is argument the log 1 in this case. So I'll just create a copy of this code so that it will be there for your reference later. And I don't want to go in much detail about this looping and everything now because I want to much focus on if I change the values inside my argument, what will happen? So now I want to console log 1 and I want to console argument of 0. So now initially the log 1 is getting assigned here, that we know, but later we are changing the arguments of 0. It means the first position to updated log 1. So here you should get the normal log 1 and here you should get the updated log 1. Let's see the outcome. That's not the case. In both cases, we are getting the updated log 1. So as soon as you are changing your arguments of 0, it is also changing internally your log 1. So with this, we should understood whenever we are writing log 1 or log 2, ultimately we are using arguments of 0 itself. Let's try in a bit different way. This time, instead of changing the arguments, we'll change the log 1. What will happen in this case? I'll just take a pause for a moment here so that you can think. So log 1 confirm we have changed. So here we should get the updated one here. But what will happen here? That's a question. I'll just take a pause for a second. Yes, I hope you understood what could be the answer in this case. So let's run the program. Again, it's the same one, updated log 1 and the updated log 1. Let's see how. So as I told you, whenever you're using this log 1 or log 2, ultimately you're using arguments of 0 itself. So it is exactly to the previous implementation. So what is this log 1 and 2 we are using here as a parameter? That is just our convention. When the execution is happening in background, it is going to use arguments, array kind of object thing only. That's perfect. Let's try to see one more new scenario here. In this case, what we will do, we'll try to use and mix up the default parameters here. What I'll do, inside this particular log 1, I'll give some default parameter here with the name default log 1. Okay, so we are passing log 1 and log 2. That's perfect. It means there is no use of this log 1 we are using here. Super correct. Okay, so it means we can also remove this. But for now, let it be. And after that, we are updating the log 1. Let's see the outcome. We are getting log 1 and the updated log 1 here. So surprisingly, on the line number 31 over here, this log 1 variable is not holding or getting updated with this updated log 1. What's the reason for that? Yes, the reason for that is when we are using the default parameters, it is giving a separate allocation. It is giving a separate allocation for the log1 which is receiving here and replacing this default parameters, and it is detaching itself from the arguments. And that's the reason when we are using arguments, or maybe when we are updating arguments of 0, still the previous value which is present inside the log1 is persisting and it is not getting updated. Let's see it again. Yes. So this is how we have seen how we are combining the default log with the existing argument and how both are getting different results in our case. Okay. One more interesting scenario. So let's consider we are just having one log here. We don't have any other logs here. We're just having one log in this case. So now in this case, uh, let me also remove this. Okay, so what could be the output? I'll just take a pause for a second so that you can think on it. Yes, so if you start with execution, we are passing log1, super perfect. That is getting assigned to the log1 here. So default parameter will not be used. And here, of course, we'll get the log1. And what will be the outcome here at the argument 0? That's a big question. So we are still getting the log1 here. So how we are getting only the log1 in this case? Yes. So in this case, if I just remove this display and we are not giving any parameter. So what is happening? Initially, are we giving any parameters here? No. What will be inside your arguments array? Nothing. When you're coming here for the function execution, you're assigning some default parameters that is no way linked with your arguments. That is just only required for your normal log1, which is completely independent in this case from your arguments. And now in this case, you should get your default log1, and here you should get undefined because we are not having any arguments. When you will have the argument 0, 1, when you're passing it, if you're not passing it, you will not have anything. This is coming from your default parameter. Let's confirm it in the outcome. I guess, yeah, we missed saving it. Let's confirm now. Yes, we are getting it 0 in this case. Okay, so now let's also see what could be the actual or the real-time application when we use arguments array. Let's consider on the HTML, we want to print a list here on the HTML. So what I'll do, I'll just create a simple div and give some ID to it. I'll say, for example, cities. Okay, fine. And here I'll try to create a function with the name create HTML list. And of course, I'll not give anything here because we are going to use arguments array. So what I want to do, I want to call this create HTML list. And when I do that, so let's say I'm giving the cities list here in this way. I want to print this output on my HTML page here. I don't want to print it on the console. I want to print it on my HTML page. So finally, I want to have a multiple parameters here that I should receive in my function. So what's the first thing I should do? The first thing, I should create an array and I should use arguments. So we need to convert it to normal array because we have seen it's an array kind of object, not a complete array. So we can do that by using array dot from. Okay, let's confirm it step by step. Are we getting our array before proceeding? Yes, we are getting our array in which 3 elements are present. Super good. So now we want to display our list inside the HTML. So we have something called the document.getElementById, using which we can refer this element and push our uh, list into that. But to have a list, we need the HTML tags called UL, LI, and everything that we need to build here first. Okay, so let's try to build our HTML contains for the list. So what we will do, we'll do a for each on our array. So every time we'll have one city when we do a looping on top of it. So when you're doing that, what I want to do, I want to uh, Instead of for each, let's use the map here. And here, let me use li. Then here I want to display the city name, and I can use the string interpolation syntax here to display the city. I need to use the backticks here to use the string interpolation syntax. Super perfect. Now I'm having an array here. When I'm doing a map, it means I'm having an array of that. So what I can do, I can just console it to confirm how exactly this map is creating the li's list. Okay, I'm getting this li and everything, and it is something kind of array. But now what I need to do, I need to combine this all together inside one string. So what I can do here, I can just say dot join, and I don't want to put any separator because I want to keep it like an empty, or I can also put a space separator here. I can also leave it empty because we don't want any separator between the strings like comma and everything. Let's see the outcome. Super perfect. Now we are getting LI Hyderabad, LI Mumbai, LI New York here. So we are getting a HTML kind of list. What we are missing here? We are missing with the UL tag, which is wrapping up the LIs and everything inside the HTML. So for that, again, what we can do, let me just put inside like list elements here. Okay, so this is our list element, and now I want to create list HTML. So when I want to do that, I can say UL starting, then again UL ending, and in between that, I want to pass this list elements. Let me make it plural list elements. Let's console the list HTML and see. Yes, we are getting a perfect HTML list here, starting with UL, ending with UL, and in between all the LI list items here. So now it's time to append this particular list, HTML formatted list inside our div called cities. How to do that? That's super simple. We can say document dot get element by ID. Firstly, we need to get an element called cities here. So with this, what we are doing, we are getting a control on this HTML element. And inside this particular HTML element, the inner HTML, we want to add our list HTML. So what we are trying to do, whatever this HTML contains are coming here, this HTML content we are putting inside our cities div. It means we are simply doing this code. Okay, so let's run the program and see the output. Yes. We are getting a very good error here. With this, we can also learn one more new concept. I'll just take a pause for a second here so that you can think on it. Yes. What's the error here? So error is saying that cannot set a property of null for like inner HTML on line number 47 or 51 maybe, where it is line number 47 here. So it is saying that I'm not able to detect any element with the name, with the ID cities inside your HTML document. What could be the problem for that? The problem is we are performing the script execution earlier, and then we are creating our cities div element, we can say, because the HTML will perform the sequential execution. Firstly, these lines will execute, then this, and then this. So when we are embedding our script here, this complete script will get executed because everything we are writing in a global scope here. If you see, this is a complete global scope. And if you want to do after the execution of this HTML content, then our document will be getting to know there is something called cities. So what we need to do in this case, we just need to remove this from here, and we need to add it at the end of the body, or maybe at the last line before ending of the body. So now our document will be knowing there is something called cities, and then script is getting executed, so that the line number 47 will get to know inside our document there is something called cities element. Still not working? Anything we are missing here? Let me confirm the spelling mistake if there is anything. Yes, of course, we are having a spelling mistake here. Yes, so now we are getting a perfect HTML output for the contents we are adding inside our JavaScript. Now it's super simple. If I just want to add one more city here, I can keep doing that. Let me add one more new city here. So this kind of behavior you can see in many the advanced JavaScript frameworks like jQuery. By writing a single or maybe by just by calling a single function, it will change drastically things on your HTML page like the way we are doing. So we are making use of our arguments array to receive the multiple parameters for the function call and creating a beautiful list here inside HTML and the JavaScript.